Hello, it's me again. It's been a little minute. This video is going to be primarily, hopefully, about the hair industry. I am a hairstylist, Sarah Style. Um, yes, I know. Don't let my lack of styling fool you. I am a hairstylist for almost 2 decades now, licensed in Minnesota. Um, Oh, before I forget, click the buttons and do the things and like and share and subscribe and comment, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so where to start? The hair industry. All right, I'll start with like my stats. I went to beauty school in Burnsville, Minnesota, 2003, 2003? 2002, graduated in 2003. So yeah, I'm coming up on the 2 decade mark. Um, and so yeah, and I went in Burnsville, and Burnsville, for anyone who knows, is a primarily white neighborhood, city. Maybe it's changed now. It's been close to 20 years. We were very close to a senior living place, so we had a lot of older ladies that would come for their roller sets and their perms and such. So that was my beauty school. Um, we maybe again this may have changed for younger hairstylists, but when I went to beauty school we were required to explain the way that education was lopsided in favor of straighter and wavier hair as opposed to curly and coily hair. We had a requirement to do, I believe it was, oh my God, it's so long ago. I believe it was 150, maybe 200, but at least 150 perms, curly perms. But for relaxers, which is to straighten, chemically straighten the hair, we only had to do 6, and none of them had to be real relaxers. So I never actually did a real relaxer in beauty school. So 6 versus 150 is a big difference in education. We spent, school was about 40 hours a week, and maybe 2 or 3 days were dedicated. I want to be generous and say out of the 1,550 hours of education that I was required to do to get my license, maybe, and this is being really generous, maybe 40 hours were dedicated to textured hair of any sort, like curly to coily hair. We did have an Afro mannequin. We were the first class to have one that had the curly hair. Now that I've worked with a lot of curly and coily hair, the texture of the Afro mannequin is it's really just not Afro hair. God, I hope that terminology is not, but it's literally what it's called online. So, if that's a problem, y'all leave some comments. Um, I know I try to be PC on occasion. I don't, but that's what we called it. But anyways, with the coily hair. So yeah, I went to school and it was primarily focused on Caucasian hair. Um, and Caucasian hair comes with curl and frizz and straight and wavy and all that, but that texture of really tight, tight coils, that 4C hair, it just was not taught. I did not work with it at all. I remember having one client who came in who wanted a wrap done with her hair. For those who don't know, it's similar. So, roller set style, you set the hair on rollers and you go under the dryer, and it leaves your hair with curls or waves depending on the tightness of the roller. A wrap is essentially the same thing, but to create the opposite effect. So it's someone who has naturally wavy, coily hair, that you smooth the hair around the head in order to create a smooth, sleek look. And you set them under the dryer with product and such. And we had a client come in for that, and her stylist was out of town, and she really wanted to have it done. And she had been to like multiple salons, and none of them knew what it was. One said that they didn't have the chemical for it. It's not a chemical service. And so finally they recommended she come to the beauty salon, the beauty school, and maybe they'd know because they're educators. They had no clue what it was. I didn't either. I was a student. This woman was lovely. She had the same name as my mom, so I will remember her always. And she taught me how to do it. And the rule was that once we had a consult with our client, we would collect a supervisor, an educator to come and also do the consult. And when I went to go get her, the woman held my hand and was like, I told you what it is. I want to see what you can do. And so I was like, she was very assertive, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. So later I apologized to the instructor for not getting her, and she's like, oh, I would have looked like an idiot. I have no idea what that was. So it's just as well. She didn't want to be embarrassed. And they didn't know how to price it, and they wanted to price it. For an example, our roller sets were $8.50 and our chemical services started at like 20, and they wanted to charge her $20 for it. And I'm like, no, it's basically just the same sort of thing. It's a style that you put under the dryer, which is the same thing as a roller set. So it should be charged like a roller set. Even though she has to sit under the dryer a bit longer, that shouldn't charge extra. And she gave me 100, actually more than 100% tip. And she was really appreciative. And I had my whole life, to go back in time just for a minute, I've had curly, wavy. I was the only one in my family that had like big curly hair when I was little. It has straightened out quite a bit. And now I've got this mess that I did. I used to style my hair all the time. This is a depression thing, and I'm not going into that today. So anyways, yeah, I noticed whenever we would have specifically Black clients that people just didn't know what to do. The instructors didn't know what to do, and us students didn't know what to do. And so there was no one really to educate us. And I was one that the education that they provided was not sufficient, and I already knew that. School is to teach you the generals and the basics. My dog is chewing on a bone. I hope that doesn't get really loud on the video. So we did end up having an instructor that started, and she was biracial, and she did teach us a lot more things that I would not have learned otherwise. And I was very thankful for it. When I graduated, I had the highest practical test score. Because, little bragability there. But I started working for Regis, which is a really big company that is currently closing all their Regis salons all over the country. But at the time, they were like the big company all over the world. And they are based in Minnesota. And I needed a salon because I wasn't determined to stay in Minnesota at the time. So I needed one that I could transfer across the country. And I worked at the Mall of America. And so we would have clients come from everywhere. And oftentimes when someone would come in with a highly textured hair, most people just didn't know what the fuck to do. We had a couple stylists that did work very well with it. And so I started observing them and trying to learn from them. I want to say that it was because I wanted to, be that stylist, that it wasn't that. Honestly, I didn't know how to work with my own hair, and beauty school didn't teach me much about how to work with my curly hair, much less the really coily textured hair. And so it was really, honestly, a selfish endeavor, but it did lead me to realize that there are a lot of people with curly and coily textured hair, and they simply don't have places to go, especially in a city like Minnesota, where we're not as white up here as everyone thinks, but it is definitely, if you go like an hour outside the cities, it gets very white very fast. So, in the cities, you can find stylists that work with all textures, but it is hard. Oftentimes, you either find someone who specializes in curly, coily hair, and that's basically all they do, or they strictly work with the straight and wavy hair, and they do like an okay job with the curlier textures. So it is hard to find. Um, and this isn't just a Minnesota problem. I was in Denver recently and just complimented a woman on her beautiful hair, and it was just coiffed perfect and just amazing in all its gravity defying coils. And she was, when I told her I did hair, as we were chatting for a minute, she was like, oh my God, where in Denver are you? I'm like, Minnesota. She's like, you work with natural hair? I'm like, yes, I do, all the time. But I'm in Minnesota. So apparently there is a demand all over the country. Well, at least Denver. And I hear this from hairstylists and clients that live all over the country. There is a big demand. There are people who have higher textures of hair, highly textured hair. What words? Oh my God. I'm still drinking my coffee. Okay. It's like 2 p.m. and I just woke up. All right. um, but yeah, there are people who have highly textured hair, even just wavy, curly hair like mine. And it's really hard to find someone that has a skill set that can work properly with it. It's okay to be, for hairstylists, real quick, it's okay to be honest about what your skill level is. I have things that clients will ask me to do that I tell them, this is my knowledge and experience on the matter. I'm willing to spend some time learning. There's a lot of free education out there. There's a lot of highly educated, licensed professionals who work with curly and coily textured hair, and they are willing to share that knowledge with you for free on YouTube. It's amazing. And I prefer, and I even, honestly, even non-professionals, because I swear I've learned so much from my clients because they learned how to work with their hair from their grandmas, their aunts, their mom, their, other people in their families. So even our clients oftentimes will know more about how to work with their hair than someone in the professional industry, which is really sad. So there is so much knowledge out there if you just look for it. There's classes, they are harder to find, but they are becoming easier to find. And there's a lot of free education out there. So there really is no excuse for not working with multiple textures of hair. And I mean, honestly, when you're capable of doing it, people appreciate it. And yeah, I started learning, and more, I experienced in the first few years. I hear this often from, especially white stylists when they're like saying that they had a black client come in and the black client's like, I don't want the white girl. I have had that happen to me before. It's okay. I understand why they're uncomfortable because they've probably had their hair fucked up in the past by someone who was too confident or didn't want to be non-PC and didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. I'm sorry, it's their hair. Like, let them know what your capability is. Don't be rude about it. Just be honest about it. And I've had a lot, for me, I've built a lot of clientele. With new clients, I will tell them that's just, if something's a service I currently don't provide, we don't have a trust base yet. I might see if they might be interested in a different service instead. And then once we build a trust level, then let's attempt what they want to do that I'm not quite skilled in yet. And I will do a discounted rate until I feel that I am up to a certain standard of that service. I have a client that we do faux locks on, and I had never done it. I knew in theory how to do extensions, and these are really easy ones, but I had never actually done it. So I looked up what the rates were for stylists in training for this, and I discounted that because I'm not in a technical training set with, you know, specialists and a skilled loctician. So my skill set is going to be below that of an apprentice. So I charged her accordingly and dropped the rate based on my area that I live in. And we've now done it 3 times. And I still have that lower rate for her because I'm still learning and getting better every time. And she trusts me. So, but I told her, I'm like, you might actually end up paying less going to loctician simply because their speed would be faster than mine. I'm very upfront and honest about it. It's okay to be honest about what your skill set is. That's okay. But I've had clients that have traveled long distances because they are turned away repeatedly because no one works with their type of hair and no one works with that texture. And that's really sad. We're in the hair industry. We should be able to work with all hair types. And it's okay if you don't provide every service. Not everyone wants to do locks or braids or roller sets, or I don't like doing perms. Perms, the twisting of the perms, I refer them to, it hurts my hands. I used to do them fine, but now my hands really have a problem with it. If I get a roller set, I refer them to my coworkers. I do more blowouts, and I haven't done a roller set in forever. I know how, I just don't like doing them. And it's no longer a skill that I really want to hone. So I'd rather refer them to someone else. If someone really needs to get in and I'm the only one capable, I'll do it. It's fine. I just will let them know this is not something I do regularly. I do more flat ironing. I really don't even have a curling iron at my station because I do everything with my flat iron, and that's okay. It's okay to have things that you do and don't do. Only you're so loud with that bone. Um, but if someone wants a haircut and you do haircuts, you should be able to cut straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, coily hair. You should be able to work with the textures. They're not asking for, something crazy. You provide haircuts, then do a haircut. That's okay. Like that's not like a specialty service. That's a basic service. Now, if they want a special type of fade, a bald fade is a special skill. If they want, designs or, things like that, that's different. But yeah, there is this, the hair industry is one of the most segregated industries to this day. There are white salons and black salons, and this is a problem. There's Asian salons and Muslim salons, and I understand the Muslim salons because women need to have their hair covered and there can't be any men there, and that's something that our salon can't properly accommodate. So I get that, but there's salons for all these different races. Hair doesn't have a race. Hair has texture. It's not about the race. Yes, race can be relevant. Your skin tone, your hair color, your eye color is all relevant to what colors would work best with you. Your face shape is relevant to what haircuts would look best on you. All those things are relevant, but it's not, it's more about the texture, the density, how much hair you have, how coily is it, how straight is it, how much hair do you have per square inch? That's your density. Those things are much more important than I'm black, I'm white, I'm Asian, I'm Hispanic. It's much more important to know the textures of the hair than it is about the race of the person. And to constantly just, oh, we don't do black hair. Well, first, that's not a good term to use. And second, it's hair. It's not going to dull your scissors. It's not going to, break your brush. It's not going to, it's hair. And these are clients. And if your only motivation to start learning is money, do it for the money. I don't care. If the motivation starts from somewhere bad, okay. I just, it's so tiring to hear people in the beauty industry talk about how they need to build clients and how they need to this and that. And trust me, I could handle having a few more clients, but I'm okay. But there's this whole awesome amount of clients out in the world, and you're limiting yourself by not learning how to work with other textures of hair that are different from your own and different from what you learned in beauty school. And the beauty school industry needs to do better. Some places it really is regional. Some places they do teach it very thoroughly and they are very diverse in their education and they create a more well-rounded stylist. But once you are licensed, it is your responsibility to have continuing education. In Minnesota, we're required to have that, and we have to show proof because we have to update our license every couple of 2-3 years. So we have to have ongoing education, and what you choose to have that education on is up to you. And you can make the choice to be better educated and to be able to manage all sorts of textures and do all sorts of hair things. You can choose to learn new techniques if you are an older stylist that has been doing hair forever. You, as a new stylist, if your school didn't provide you with knowledge on things that you wish you could learn or think would benefit your business, learn it. You have that ability and that power to do that. And every single state requires ongoing education. So you can choose what you learn. How about choosing to learn to diversify your skill set so that you don't have to have that, as uncomfortable as it is. Oh boy, that was loud. It's okay, Miss Lady. As uncomfortable as it is for you to tell a client that you can't do the service that they are looking for, it always feels a little bad that you do not know a service. I prefer not to do braids anymore because I have arthritis in my hands. So I don't do cornrows anymore. And a lot of people don't get them quite so much anymore, but I'll do just a handful of braids at a time, but I prefer not to do the whole head. It's a whole aside. But anyways, it bothers my hands now, so I prefer not to offer it as a main service. But if a few of my regulars want to get a few braids on occasion, yeah, I'll do it. After I pop some Tylenol. Like, it's okay if you're not offering every service, that's fine. But to turn away clients because you don't know, you have no experience or knowledge on how to work with their texture of hair, that's just, how do you think it makes a client feel when they've called two, three, four, five, six salons and they are consistently told that no one works with their texture of hair, that they don't know or have the experience out of all their stylists? I cannot count how many clients I have received exactly that way. Oh, goodness, girl. Because they have called multiple salons or they've scheduled appointments that tell them, yes, we work with curly hair. And when they walk in, they're like, oh, not your kind of curl. This is a problem. This is discriminatory education. I don't know. I don't want to get all like on my high horse, but like it's a problem. And if your only motivation, hey, that's money walking out the door, and they're not going to be referring people to you, like that, it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and the hair industry needs to do better. And as stylists, if you didn't learn in school, it's your responsibility to work on your own education and do better. So I just think we can do better. We just can do better. Now I'm going to start going in circles. I could rant on this all day. I could rant on this all day. And yeah, that's luckily, I do know quite a few hairstylists in my area that do work with highly textured hair, straight hair, all the hair. So if ever I'm unavailable, I have lots of people that I can refer my clients to so that they can get taken care of. And yeah, it's good to have that network. I really need to find a good barber that I can refer people to because I can't do lineups because we're not allowed to use the tool that barbers use, a straight razor. We can't use them in the salon. So, yeah, as a hairstylist, you don't need to have, I'm going to just do all the repetitive stuff and no one watches the ends anyway. So, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'll do at the end. There's so much I could say about this. And so I'm just going to call this a video and finish my coffee and get the girls upstairs settled in. Yeah. So, good morning, good afternoon. I'm tired. Hair industry just really needs to do fucking better. Until next time, ciao.